I'm your host, Michael Schaefer, and as always, I'm joined by Anthony McCormack and Jacqueline Mifsud. And our special guest panellist for this week is Lindsay Mottram. Well, let's get stuck into it. This week, Greenpeace threatened to keep using child protesters throughout the election campaign. They sent a group of children aged 5 to 14 to a Liberal Party fundraiser to protest about climate change. The kids were standing outside in the wet and cold carrying fake $100 notes and asked if they could buy a ticket to the event so they could discuss threats to the Great Barrier Reef with Mr Turnbull.
I feel like that's kind of exploitative, you know, using children for the political purpose. Greenpeace has basically become the Coney of the environment.
I think these kids got lucky, though, because in 2009, Greenpeace hung this banner over the Sydney Opera House. Those kids should be happy that they didn't get sent up there.
Now, children, if a man from Greenpeace asks if you can abseil, always say no.
Life lesson.
If anything, I think 5-year-olds should be in favour of climate change. The more sea levels rise, the more seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants.
I feel sorry for the kids because Greenpeace has obviously made them some false promises. Hey, do you kids want to stay up late and go to a party? All right, you're going to stand outside the Liberal Party fundraiser all night. You're going to love it, kids.
At least they're learning from a young age that adults may let you down.
I think these kids are happy to be there. I mean, look at this kid, grinning at his money. Look at that. He's going straight to 7-Eleven and saying, give me 700 Slurpees, I never want to sleep again.
I think you're right. Look at the one in the middle. Look at him. Oh, he's the cutest little drug dealer. Look at him. He's going to buy all the Ritalin.
It's not the first time kids have been used in this election. Pauline Hanson posted this video on the night she launched her campaign.
Well, this is the night of our launch, the Pauline Hanson One Nation launch. All my candidates, what a wonderful night. Yes, we had some protesters outside. Yes, they were in the room trying to disrupt the meeting. And what was so stupid about it, they're calling racism. They're saying, you know, stop the freedom of speech. And that's the whole point. Pauline Hanson One Nation is all about freedom of speech. And here I have these two lovely girls with me, Rose and Googie or Grace? Which one? Googie or Grace? Don't care. You answer anything.
She doesn't care. She's also not named Googie. She's only there because you gave her fake $100 bills, Pauline.
I feel like those girls must be thinking, can we please just go to the Liberal fundraiser?
Please.
Well, Bolivian President Evo Morales has been at the centre of a real-life soap opera. 8 years ago, his girlfriend, Gabriela Zapata, gave birth to a baby boy. Now, at the time, Miss Zapata, let's have a look at Miss Zapata. There she is.
Hey.
At the time, she told President Morales the boy had fallen ill and died. Evo and Gabriela broke up. Fast forward to today, and Bolivian authorities have arrested 5 people for allegedly coaching a young boy to pretend he was President Morales' long-lost son.
So hang on. So he died, and then he didn't die, and then here he is 8 years later. You got to wake up pretty early in the morning to outfox this President Morales.
Well, he wasn't working for fake $100 bills, I'll tell you that much. This boy was promised an education, a plot of land, and a whole heap of money for his actual parents.
So it's like a real-life Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, or given the circumstances, Charlie in the Charlie Factory, because it's Bolivia.
You know, I'm wondering, when there's something like this going on in a developing nation, something fishy with a child, I just think the 60 Minutes crew they can't be too far behind.
Well, they might be in on it. The president might be in on it. Here we see President Morales. He's looking pretty happy. Here is a shot from just last year. Now, to the right of frame, that's Evo and Gabriela, looking pretty chummy for a pair who are supposedly broken up.
While we're talking conspiracy theories, is that Shane Warne standing behind them?
Wherever there's a failed marriage, there's Shane Warne.
Well, let's see the mother again. Have we got the mother there? No.
Well, Shane's still happy.
Shane's happy. That's good. So there she is. But if we go.
What the hell?
Oh my God!
Anthony,
what is that?
What is? Oh my God! Shane Warne has had a lot of work done.
I think what we're looking at here is maybe the many failed attempts at creating the fake president's son. Not so good at arts and crafts. Well, that is truly disturbing. In other news, please get that off. Give me the keys. There I am. Not better, but at least I'm wearing polka dots. I have a new favourite person this week, and yes, I did say favourite. Sorry, Anthony. It's 28-year-old Robert Barber, a rancher from Eagle Point, Oregon. Look at him. So he was in a Walmart car park, as you are, and he heard a woman cry out that someone was stealing her bike. But he caught the bike thief the old-fashioned way.
The guy seen me coming to him with this horse, and he just throws the bike on the ground and takes off running on foot. So I went ahead and roped him, and when the rope went around his feet, I just dallied and rode off like I would cattle, you know.
Now, if you were going to tell me an American cowboy stopped a bike thief with a rope is not the first thing I would have imagined, and I'm very relieved.
I love this guy. I'm so impressed with him. I just love the idea of a cowboy superhero. He's like the Walmart Superman.
No, actually, Lindsay, this is the Walmart Superman. There he is. That's a real person from life.
It is hard to be heroic when you can't choose between rye or sourdough.
Well, maybe this will make lassos more popular. Maybe this will, help with the gun problem in America. But I've got to tell you, it just seems like something out of a cartoon to me.
Well, actually, the Powerpuff Girls wanted to help, but they were stuck in the checkout line.
Again, real people.
I'm starting to get the feeling, as strange as this story is, this is not the strangest thing that has happened at a Walmart.
I wish you were wrong, but it really isn't the strangest thing. Perhaps this is the strangest thing.
Walmart, she going to Walmart, they going to Walmart, they be at Walmart, we going to Walla 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 World, Walla 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 World, Walmart, she going to Walmart, they going to Walmart, they be at Walmart, we going to Walla 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 World, Walla 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 World.
The World Health Organization has said no to 150 scientific experts who penned a letter urging for the Rio 2016 Olympics to be moved or postponed. The experts cited the Zika pandemic, saying that the 500,000 tourists who would attend the Olympics would be likely to catch the disease, take it home with them, and give it to their friends and family. Worst holiday souvenir ever.
Almost as bad as those hacky T-shirts you buy overseas.
They're going to have to update into something like this, I think.
Now, terrorists have also threatened to attack the Olympics.
Well, if we cancel the Olympics because of that, then the terrorists have already won.
Okay, well, what about the Zika virus?
If we cancel the Olympics because of that, then the mosquitoes have already won.
Well, there's also the fact that the water in the area is severely contaminated from human sewage.
If we cancel the Olympics because of that, then the feces has already won.
It's a very crowded podium you're referring to there, Anthony. Good to see the terrorists winning gold, though. It's about time, yeah.
But mosquito bites are not the only way to get your very own Zika infection. It can also be sexually transmitted.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now that will be a huge problem at the Olympic Village. You know what happens in there, right?
Walla 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 World, Walla 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 World.
People having sex with the mosquitoes?
I think so.
Is that what's happening? Sorry, honey, I can't deny. I didn't bring my mosquito net.
I hate those you have to fumble with the wrapper. Yours, anyway, it's always awkward. We'll be back after this.
Hey there, netizens. You're watching our online exclusive web-only internet content. During the ad breaks on last week's episode, all you savvy young YouTubers saw was a black screen. Well, not this week. We've decided to do something a little more interesting this week, like stare at my blank, unmoving face for 40 seconds. Just kidding. I know you got better things to do than stare at my beautiful face all night. You're here to learn. Many Australians don't know how to pronounce the finance minister's name. Is it Matthias Cormann? Matthias Cormann? It's actually Matthias Cormann. Did you know Adam Bandt, the member for Melbourne, wasn't actually the first Greens MP in the lower house? That title belongs to Michael Organ, who won a 2002 Cunningham by-election. Wouldn't mind seeing his organ.
sovereign states. We all have one, but does anyone know what a micronation is? I did some investigatory journalism and found out. I just got a letter. It's from Sally Salty Fingers and it says, "Dear Jacqueline, what is a micronation?" Okay, thanks, bye. Well, Sally, why don't we find out? Micronations or model nations are small entities claiming to be independent nations, but aren't actually recognised by the world government. They're the Jam Bradys of sovereign states. Micronations have existed for hundreds of years, like Share, but have only been publicised on a world scale thanks to something called the intranet. Internet. Micronations can exist in various forms, like one of those creatures in those sci-fi films that Anthony's always banging on about. The Kingdom of Redonda is an uninhabited Caribbean island that's been in existence since 1865 under absolute monarchy. But there are 4 people who claim to be king. My money's on the guy holding the pineapple. There are even micronations right here in Australia. No, not one of our many detention centres. We're talking about a place called the Principality of Hutt River. It was created over an argument about wheat. A guy called Leonard Casely got upset and created his own micronation independent of Western Australia. Prince Leonard even received a letter from the Queen of England, not just some woman who created a vegetable patch country. There are some really kooky micronations too, like the Erican Empire. They worship a great penguin and have weird public holidays like Dog Biscuit Appreciation Day. They claim sovereignty over the northern hemisphere of Pluto and a colony on Mars. Though strangely enough, they weren't interested in claiming Uranus. Sealand's another wacky one. Sealand is an unrecognised micronation claiming Ruff's Tower off the coast of England. A man by the name of Paddy Bates, originally claimed the fort to broadcast his pirate radio station. But now they have a constitution, a national anthem, a flag, even passports. And they also kind of dabble in regal prostitution, as they sell titles for like barons and baronesses for £30 on their website. Still, I think I'd rather be a princess from the lighthouse and round the twist. Not all micronations are bizarre places run by creepers. Take Liberland, for example. It was created during border disputes between Croatia and Serbia. The 7 square kilometre sovereign state wasn't claimed by either country, and so it was declared a no man's land. So then comes along a Czech politician and activist and declared it a new state. This guy wants to make Liberland a libertarian paradise. But they're having a lot of trouble because Croatian border police won't let anyone in. They're very determined, and after only a year of existence, they already have 400,000 would-be citizens and even their own beer. And yes, it tastes like freedom. Well, that's all we have time for today. I hope that answers your question, Sally. And remember, always keep learning.
Welcome back. Well, I'm joined now by the president of Liberland, Vit Jelechka. Vit, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
It's great to be on the show, and I'm very honoured to be on your media.
Well, we're honoured to have you. Vit, congratulations on the first birthday of Liberland a couple months ago. How did you celebrate it?
It was a big conference in Croatia. Some 150 people, important people came down there, including members of European Parliament, including important local politicians. And I was very happy because it was a big success. Anybody can look up how the conference went at conference.liberland.org. And we showed local politicians and also Croatian and Serbian politicians that we are actually serious about this and that we want to make it happen, and it will be a very positive project for the whole region.
Sounds like my 30th birthday. So you've got 400,000 people already registered to be citizens, including, you just said before, off-air, Seeks Television, 800 Australians. What's the appeal of Liberland? What can people expect?
I think, the most important thing that we are separating state from the economy. We are actually introducing a concept of voluntary taxes. Which is very appealing to many people. You pay basically how much you feel you want to pay, and you give it to some direct purpose.
Well, so we have that with our foreign companies as well in Australia.
Don't have the right to decide how much taxes they get. Yeah. So I think that concept is very appealing, of course, and the fact that not regulate too many stuff is also very important.
So Vit, who are the people who've signed up? What sort of people are expressing interest in moving to Liberland?
Well, I think it's very hard to describe it as one group. I can tell you that most of them, those people are freedom-loving people, and so they're poor people, they're extremely rich people, they're people with no diplomatic connections, but they're also people which were very highly connected to politics worldwide. And so we have got some 700 people that earn more than $1 million a year that want to see this happen. So I think there is a great potential in building our nation, even financially.
Does that mean you get to pick and choose and say, well, I'll have one of these millionaires and maybe not so many of these poor people, kind of, is that... Because if you want the...
Anybody can become citizen of Liberland. They just need to help us a little bit. So if you stay in Liberland or in the area and, for example, help us with organizing some events, or you are a representative for a couple of months, you basically deserve a citizenship. But we want only serious people that show some interest and that help us for a couple of months to make this happen.
Well, Vit, I want to know, how do you make a country? Like, do you just put an application to the world? How does that happen? What do you have to do?
Well, the international law, the video conventions are very strict about actually saying that in order to have a country, you don't need any kind of recognition. You basically have to act like a country, and this is exactly what we are doing.
What?
That's fascinating. So all you have to do is act like a country to be recognised as a country.
If it sounds like a country and smells like a country, it's a country.
Exactly. They call it a tax basically. And this is exactly what we are doing. And we have a very nice territory. We have a lot of people that want to live there. So we are actually following all the Montevideo criteria for staying country, which is very important.
And you have a football team, and you have your own beer. So I feel like you've probably already established the country now, haven't you?
Yes. Yes. For example, he said these are exactly the two most important steps for a starman. And he also said it helps if you have some friends with nuclear weapons, which we don't have yet, but that was just a joke.
Do you think that you will be a nuclear state in the next few years? Because we need more of them.
Now, of course, we are already a state. We declared that we are a state from day one, and we are acting to prove our statehood.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with everything. And Vit, thank you so much for joining us. We have to end it there. But good luck for the rest of the life of Liberland.
Yeah, you're very welcome to come and visit in August. I hope that some people from Australia. We haven't had any yet, but we had people from the rest of the world already.
Well, we're going to go straight there. Thanks so much, Vit. We'll catch up with you another time, hopefully.
And did you know that despite what many Australians believe, freedom of speech is not protected by the Bill of Rights in our Constitution? Mainly because there is no Bill of Rights in our Constitution. But this might actually be a good thing. I mean, just look what the Bill of Rights has done for America. Did you know? It's double dissolution, not double disillusion.
Maybe
Welcome back to the show. Look, we've all heard our politicians telling us the importance of balancing the federal budget and achieving surpluses, but they rarely tell us why. Lance Turnbull explains.
Today, we're going to learn about surpluses in the federal budget. A budget surplus is when the government's revenue from taxes exceeds the very same government's expenditure on public goods and services. And that's why having a surplus in the federal budget is important, because if we don't have a surplus, then we won't have one. And then, well, let's let ex-Treasurer and current embarrassment of Australia to the United States, Ambassador of Australia to the United States, Joe Hockey, explain.
You've got to try and help those people most vulnerable. You can only do it by having a surplus and having excess capacity to help those most vulnerable in the community.
Thanks, Joe. You see, the way to assist the most vulnerable in our society is to make sure that the government has enough money to spend on the services that help them. And the way to make sure that the government has enough money to spend on those services is to cut government funding to services, such as the ones that help the most vulnerable in our society. And then also cut taxes on the wealthiest individuals and businesses. At this upcoming federal election, who can you trust to deliver a budget surplus for you and your small business and your family? The Liberal Party have a strong plan for budget repair that hinges entirely on pretending that they can count on cuts to services that the Senate will never pass, and slashing the government's revenue by giving out tax cuts because business, innovation, something, jobs and growth. Labor, on the other hand, plan to say that they have a plan to get the budget back to surplus, but then not tell anybody how they're going to do that because Tony Abbott didn't do it until right before polling day at the last election, and please stop asking, it's not fair. To find out more about budget surpluses and fiscal responsibility, we have expert on budgeting and saving, Valdunax, the immolator Goldstein. Valdunax, thanks for being here.
I'm pleased to be here, Lance.
Many have tried and failed to understand the way that the budget works, and the only point of reference which seems to make sense of government budgets, surpluses and deficits is our normal household budgets. But that's not right, is it? Surely it's more complicated than that.
I've managed to maintain a very long and rewarding life with the gold which came to me by the folly of mortals. And I would argue that a federal budget is in fact a lot like dragon gold, or indeed a household budget. Tax and revenue are just like income from your job. Then you have your expenses such as roads, hospitals, millions of dollars on unnecessary plebiscites, which is like the shopping, school fees, upkeep on your complex network of caves full of the ancient gold of dead men.
I see. It's really coming together in my mind now.
Yes, and like any other household, the government has control over the manufacture and distribution of the currency which it spends.
Goes without saying, but thanks for saying it.
So when it looks like you're going to run out of money to spend on necessities, education, groceries, enchanted gems to ward off adventurers and thieves, Australian householders can simply ask their household mint to authorise the creation of more money, which is like credit card debt.
Well, that's just economics 101.
Ah, correct. The trick, which I'm sure most Australians already understand, is to not make so much money that the currency devalues, because that causes problems for other areas of the economy.
Inflation, right? This is where it all gets a bit complicated for me.
Think of it this way. I have gold, but because gold is so rare and sweet, not everyone can have it as much as I. Because the acquisition of gold is so important.
Why is it important?
Lance, it just self-evidently is. Look, if you need a reason, it's important to stockpile gold for times when there is less gold. A budget surplus can keep an economy moving in a rocky economic climate, much like in the case of household savings for emergencies, or extra baubles and trinkets for a nasty intruder to steal my precious treasure. Ah!
Well, that makes sense to me. Valdunax, the immolator Goldstein, thanks for joining me.
It has been my pleasure.
And that's why budget surpluses.
The Great Barrier Reef. Is it stuff? Probably. Take it away, pre-recorded me.
The Great Barrier Reef. It's the world's largest reef system, visible from space, and it supports thousands of species, many of them rare and endangered. The reef also supports thousands of jobs, 69,000 to be specific, at a benefit to the economy of over $5 billion every year. That's more jobs than would be produced by 47 Carmichael mines. With all this economic value, you'd think our politicians would be pitching in to save the reef, but the reality is different. The ABC obtained secret modelling from the Queensland government that showed that protecting the reef would cost $16 billion over the next 9 years, and that's only to meet the bare minimum targets. That's way more money than what the major parties have pledged in their election campaigns. So who will save the reef? Do we even really want to anymore? Well, earlier this week, daytime TV star Ellen DeGeneres, who stars in the upcoming Finding Dory, urged Australians to pitch in for the reef effort. DeGeneres was reportedly shocked by the backlash she received, including a barrage of passive-aggressive tweets from Australian Environment Minister Greg Hunt. #awkward, Greg. So with the lack of political will to save the reef, we need to ask ourselves, will the world's largest marine paradise be the next victim to Australia's environmental apathy?
So what I love about Greg Hunt's response here is just how quickly he got on the defensive. You know, Alan puts out one little video about the Great Barrier Reef and he's like, oh no, this needs a full response, at least 5 tweets.
He's like a jealous boyfriend, like leaving all voicemails on your phone, so I'm told.
You said you would have mentioned that. I'm a bit cynical here just because like Ellen really cares about the Great Barrier Reef just in time for the release of Finding Dory. Is that too lucky?
I say good on Alan for standing up for the reef. I think the Environment Minister is being a real Greg Hunt about this. He's not willing to look after the reef, but he is willing to tweet about it. That's not good enough.
Come on, I think we're being not fair enough on Mr. Greg Hunt. He actually won an award in Dubai last year for Best Minister.
So is that like the politics version of Miss Universe? How do they decide who is the best minister?
Like the Great Barrier Reef, that is one of the great wonders of the world.
I think we have some footage of him with the competition.
Yes. Yeah, no, that actually explains a lot, such as why the minister is so cool with the rising sea levels. He just loves a bit of a dip.
And he loves...
Who the hell is Robert Menzies? You know, this election, I've heard a lot of words I've never heard before. I'm a political novice. So I've come here to Monash University to speak to someone who really knows his politics, Dr. Zare Gazarian.
A few weeks ago, I heard this term for the first time, dead cat. Peter Dutton has thrown a dead cat on the table. What is a dead cat?
A dead cat is an unfortunate name given to a political tactic where a political actor, a politician, throws out something that's a bit different, that's something that is going to basically short-circuit the entire day's debate and refocus the action on something else.
Now, so that's Peter Dutton. Have we seen that from the left side of things?
We've seen Labor toy with the idea, for example, that the coalition government will destroy Medicare. Now, that's a bit of a far-fetched statement to make, but it is something that takes attention, it gets people's imagination and listening to what the Labor Party is saying.
If I then take away the dead cat and I replace it with a dead rat, that dead rat looks a whole lot more appetising.
Absolutely. Any dead animal would be probably more likeable than a dead cat when you talk about dead animals.
Could I replace a dead cat with a live rat?
A live rat then would throw people off the scent of the dead cat, and then you'd go into the realm of fairy tales, if you like. So you can then start to talk about, for example, Labor's 10-year economic plans. That's replacing the dead cat with a live rat because it will be moving.
What's better, a dead cat, a live rat, or a pink bat?
Well, pink bat has its problems, significant problems, of course, especially if you're Kevin Rudd and the government administering the pink bat rollout. So a live rat is always better because it's something that keeps on moving and can ferret away in some other place and really does get a lot of people looking at it rather than a dead cat or the pink bat.
So when we hear slogans like trust or jobs and growth, are our politicians beating a dead horse?
So this is all market research coming to the fore, all about the going for growth and jobs, innovation, Labor's, of course, plans about 100 positive policies. So it's a very effective way of reiterating the main points that parties want at the risk of beating a dead horse.
Well, I mean, we've got a dead horse, we've got a dead cat, we've got a dead rat. Who is killing all these animals, Dr. Zara?
Well, politics is a brutal business, as we know. The more they engage in market research, the more it is the case that we will see these sorts of issues dominating elections in the future.
Now I want to talk about the elephant in the room. And is the elephant in the room alive or is the elephant in the room dead?
Oh, if we think that the Republican Party is the elephant in the room, then it's well and truly alive. Of course, Donald Trump is making new ground in the US campaign, and some of those tactics may actually wash up in the Australian campaign as well.
In an election campaign, how much is what we see of these parties planned out in advance? How much of it is strategic?
Well, the campaign itself is very, very well organised, very well run, and ultimately every day is like a well-rehearsed dance.
So if I were to sneak into each of the parties' HQs, written on the calendar, it would be strictly regimented. There'd be no day where you'd say Reef.
Absolutely not, no. It's a very, very big process, a huge job, and the parties that do effective jobs in planning their 33 days, or in this case 55-day campaigns, stands the best chance of winning.
Is there anything that we as voters can do to get behind the spin?
But for the average voter, it's really hard to go behind the scenes. There's no substitute for being engaged with a political process, with a political debate for the 3 years prior to an election campaign, because that gives us a good way of measuring how parties, politicians, leaders have performed over 36 months rather than just the final one.
Dr. Zari, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight.
Pleasure to be with you.
No, the Australian Senate chamber is the only place in Australia where the exit signs are red, because the familiar green we're all so used to would clash with the colouring. When the revolution comes and the parliament burns, these senators will be the first with their backs up against the wall, because they won't be able to see the exit signs. It's just not safe. It's a common misconception that Peter Dutton is actually a particularly dim-witted potato. Well, how many dim-witted potatoes do you know who've gone on to be immigration minister? I think he's a great potato.
Yeah, just... What did you have for today? What did I have for breakfast? Good question. Had muffins and tea. I think I had tea. Keep talking. Muffins with jam. You'd better ask me another question, otherwise I'll just keep talking about my breakfast and get really boring. Yeah. So I can hear myself through my earpiece now, actually, so that's kind of good. And maybe keep talking, or I don't know. Yeah, okay. Cool. Good. Cool.
It's good. Everyone loves it.
Welcome back. Our second guest for tonight is Anne Alsbrook, a PhD student at Melbourne University studying sleep behaviour in animals. Anne, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Thanks so much for joining us, Anne. Now, you've been watching animals as they sleep. That sounds pretty creepy, but I'm sure you have a very good reason for it.
Yeah, so we're interested in what we can learn about sleep from studying animals that basically aren't lab rats and that aren't humans.
And what have you learned about sleep?
So I'm basing this basically on the research that's been done so far in this field.
Ooh,
so
infinity, Anne.
We've got infinity of you right now in case you can't see the screen.
I'm looking better than ever.
Sleep.
Oh, now we've got 0 of you, so we balanced it out. That worked out really well.
Great. Okay.
Sleep.
Are you with us at all, Anne?
I can see you, and I can. Yeah.
There you
here we
are.
are. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you've been learning about sleep. What can we apply from animals to our own lives?
Okay, so an example that I really like is that one study looked at ducks sleeping in a row, and they found that the ducks on the end of the row spent more time sleeping in this particular kind of sleep where they can sleep with one half of their brain at a time, if that makes sense. So they've got one eye open and the other half of their brain's sleeping. So
I suspect that many of our politicians are always like that.
Gripping their pillows tight.
So, Anne, you were just saying about ducks sleeping with half their brain. I've also read that you've found that dolphins sleep with half their brain so that they can keep swimming. Should I be sleeping while swimming? Should I try and be a bit more efficient that way?
It might not be great. You might drown. That's probably not recommended.
I told you that before, Lindsay.
Yeah, so with the duck example, so ducks sleeping more with one half of their brain than the other. They found that they do that more when they're sleeping on the row rather than in the middle of the row. And so this is thought to be an anti-predatory response, and so the ducks can actually respond more quickly when they're in this particular type of sleep than when they're sleeping fully. And some recent research with humans has found that first night effect, they call it, when you're sleeping in a hospital and you don't sleep as well as you usually would, is actually a vaguely similar thing in the sense that one half of your brain is sleeping more deeply than the other, and that allows you to respond more quickly to this scary, unfamiliar environment.
So we shouldn't sleep with one eye open, we should sleep with half of a brain open.
Maybe.
And tell us about sloths, because they're they're the sleepiest of the animals, are they not?
They're so sleepy.
Well, sort of, but not really. So one of the first studies to study sleep in a wild animal, well, the first study, studied wild sloths, and they found that sloths aren't actually as slothful as we thought. So wild sloths sleep only about 10 hours a day, whereas captive sloths sleep up to 16 hours a day. So clearly the environment is pretty important in how animals sleep. And with sloths too, it's tricky because, what they do is they sit in a tree and try to look as much like a tree as possible, or a bit of a tree. And so they're very good at looking like they're sleeping when they're actually awake.
Tree beard.
And do you have a favourite animal that you might say to yourself, if I could sleep like any other animal, I would sleep like that kind of sleep?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Was it?
I'd have to go with, so pectoral sandpipers can actually sleep very little. So during the breeding season, the males can get by, it seems, with just about 2 hours of sleep a night. And the males that sleep the least actually seem to have the best breeding success. So they're the ones who are able to meet the most ladies.
As well, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like my kind of animal. I like that animal too.
And thanks so much for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, now it's time for the Leak's brand new non-recurring segment, Leak Entertainment News.
Our top story today, it's the lascivious love triangle that's driving Canberra crazy. You've seen the billboards and heard the rumours. Now we bring you the exclusive true story behind Canberra's cattiest campaign quarrel this year. Back in March, Victorian Liberal Party President Michael Kroger, the man who wants to know what it's going to take to put you in a practically brand new pre-loved car today, was spotted publicly flirting with the Greens, saying they're not the nutters they used to be. So sweet. This upset Labor leader Bill Shorten, he's the jealous type, who totally thought the Greens and the Liberals were secretly preferencing each other. Incidentally, Cosmopolitan magazine rated preferencing as its number 4 top sex position this year. Bill had this to say.
A vote for the Greens in marginal seats in Victoria, for example, will be funneled to the Liberal Party.
The Greens denied the lewd accusations, but are they telling the truth? And if the Greens aren't preferencing the Liberals, then who is? Find out after this. Oh!
Chickens!
Little fluffy buffy baby chickie, you are, oh yes you are, oh what's your boo boo boo, you the fluffiest ever. I just want to take you home and make you roller skates and then read your little fantasy novels. Sorry. The poultry industry and animal rights activists are hailing new technology that can identify the gender of chickens before they hatch. Because egg-laying chooks don't taste as nice and only lady chickens lay eggs, many good producers currently kill off baby boy chooks, either by gassing them or throwing them into the wood chipper, Fargo style. But these eggs can now be tested before they hatch with some sciencey miracle called in ovo sexing, which sounds like my kind of procedure. So now instead of brutally slaughtering millions of fluffy little wuffy chooky chooks, the unhatched eggs can be disposed of humanely.
I'll never be able to look at Chicken Run the same way ever again.
I'm sorry.
Wait, so are you saying that they kill all of the baby males?
So it's basically the opposite of what happens in China.
So I've read about this, actually, but they won't start using the new technology until around 2020, so we've got about 4 more years. Of,
4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years!
Yes, thank you, Anthony. American hatcheries kill around 200 million male chicks a year, and they plan to end the culling in 2020.
That's about 500,000 deaths per day. That's a lot of tiny coffins, but very cute tiny coffins.
Oh, you little coffin.
No.
Who's dead? You are. Sorry. Germany kill 45 million chicks a year, and they promise to stop the culling as early as next year, which is good news.
Well, it's good news for the actual animals, but it's terrible news for the people who make the little tiny coffins.
But what happens to all the unwanted male eggs? Are they going to just give those to high school students for muck-up day, or...? That's all I could think of.
See, I had another idea. I was thinking that they could be used in egg and spoon races for children, and then at the end of the race, the winner can crack open the egg and then pin the fetus to their shirt. That's one idea that I had.
That's quite disturbing, Jack.
Yeah, I think it's disturbing too. I think every child should get a fetus.
Even more of that after this break.
Many Australians don't know how to pronounce the Finance Minister's name. Is it Matthias Cormann? Matthias Cormann? It's actually Matthias Cormann. Did you know Adam Bandt, the member for Melbourne, wasn't actually the first Greens MP in the lower house? That title belongs to Michael Organ, who won a 2002 Cunningham by-election. Wouldn't mind seeing his organ. And did you know that despite what many Australians believe, freedom of speech is not protected by the Bill of Rights in our Constitution? Mainly because there is no Bill of Rights in our Constitution. Did you know it's double dissolution, not double disillusion?
Well, with the election coming up, politicians are resorting to desperate measures to seem more relatable. Malcolm Turnbull performed manual labour. Bill Shorten has high-fived every child in Australia. And Peter Dutton attempted his first smile. Keep trying, Peter, almost there. In fact, the longer this election goes on, the more this campaign looks like an 8-week pub crawl. Slow down, boys. By the time the election rolls around, you'll both be drunk texting the Greens. Of the two, Bill seems to be more relatable. He chooses his language carefully to reach very niche demographics.
Labor today seizing on the government's backtrack on the so-called backpacker tax.
The budget was barely 2 weeks ago and the bits and pieces and the wheels are falling off it. What a schmozzle.
Yes, schmozzle, appealing to the crucial Yiddish-speaking backpacker demographic. Only a matter of time before Bill grows out a beard, pops on a yarmulke and goes, "Oh, Turnbull, what a schmuck. Oy vey, backpackers, they're all stooped. It's terrible." But maybe for Bill, he's becoming a bit too relatable.
The leaders are starting to get personal, but not as personal as one voter who collared Bill Shorten today.
Who says there's not a lot of love in politics.
Now, come on, give us a kiss and a cuddle for the camera. Come on, proper kiss.
Look at the surprise on Bill's face when he finds out someone likes him. Amazing. This election, politicians are using social media more than ever to relate to younger voters. In the past, the only way a politician could get in touch with youth was by kissing a baby. Why do you smell like onions? But now that politicians are on social media, they can reach us any time we open our phones. I never thought I'd say this, but I wish I was with Vodafone. Of course, using social media to appear more human to younger voters doesn't always work. During his 2013 campaign, Kevin Rudd uploaded this photo to Instagram after he cut himself shaving, which actually did humanise Rudd, because until that point, many of us did not know that he could bleed. But his creepy explanation of the photo didn't help at all.
I must ask, yesterday you sent out a picture of yourself with a Norman Gunston-style shaving cut. Why did you do it?
You ever cut yourself when you've been shaving? Good. OK, well, I'm a human. I shave, and from time to time, it bleeds. And I was also about to walk out the door and do a press conference, so you could either have a spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, Rudd was human just like all of us. At any moment, he was at risk of bursting into flames. In this election, politicians are using newer social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram and Twitter more than ever. This week, Malcolm Turnbull signed up to Snapchat and promptly released his first dick pic. So it's only a matter of time before you stumble across his Tinder profile. And whatever you do, don't get into a Tinder conversation with Malcolm. It gets real awkward real quickly. Our Prime Minister loves social media. Earlier tonight, he and Bill Shorten participated in a debate over Facebook. Like their first debate, it wasn't that exciting, but luckily Facebook created a bored shitless reaction so viewers could accurately express themselves. The reason why Malcolm loves social media is because it allows him to prove that just like the common man, he has a personality. In fact, he has two personalities. His private personality and his public personality, which he has negatively geared to offset against the smugness of the private one. To prove that he's no different to the common man, Malcolm has been posting selfies on public transport. Yeah, because that's how we all ride public transport, with a smile. Malcolm, if you want to relate to the masses, you should have posted this photo. That's how we ride public transport. Hating every second of it and praying to God that smell is not what we think it is. According to Malcolm's Twitter page, he's just a true blue Aussie bloke. Look how much he knows about AFL.
There's nothing more mainstream, nothing more Australian than Australian football. It is, after all, the Australian football code, uniquely Australian.
Knows his AFL. Hey, Malcolm, what does the A stand for?
Australian.
Very good. It's not just the major parties trying to be relatable. Greens leader Richard Di Natale tweeted this photo, and a few days later, Fairfax revealed that he failed to declare his home when he was elected to the Senate, proving he can defy gravity as much as he defies parliamentary rules. It's easy to be cynical about politicians on social media. Look, Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young posted a very funny video of her reading out hate mail.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hanson-Young. As a federal senator, I receive a lot of correspondence. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the more heartwarming messages. You are just an atheist dyke. Piss off. They should send you to Cambodia. You dopey brainless cow. Your brain seems to be in sync with your surname. It has a split in the middle.
It's great that she doesn't let hate mail get to her, but she shouldn't be revealing the private letters she receives from Peter Dutton. In fact, Peter Dutton, pictured here conducting a seance, is all over social media as well. In his Twitter profile, he has learned to smile, that's good, but he looks to be in a lot of pain. It's the smile you make when Grandma gives you a terrible Christmas present. Though I doubt Peter has ever received a Christmas present. Though he has made a lot of people present on Christmas Island. While other politicians are trying to be more relatable with photos of themselves drinking beer or high-fiving kids, Dutton is trying to be more relatable by tweeting about all of the boats he's turned back. He posted this image listing all of the boats that arrived in Australia when Labor was in power. And it seems like he tried to appeal to younger voters by making it look like the lineup for a music festival. Hey, you coming to Splendour in the Grass? Nah, I'm going to Horror on the Seas. Labor's 800 boats are headlining. It's going to be great. Politicians need to learn from Rudd's mistakes. Rudd spends so much time posting selfies on social media to be relatable when all he really had to do was post this.
I get to the very end, yeah. And tell these dickheads in the embassy to just give me simple sentences and tell a bloody interpreter. There's f***ing language.
Now that's relatable.
Thanks for that lead-in, Michael. Now let's... this bloody language. Now, let's open up our browsers and do a quick search for controversy. Prominent YouTube channels SourceFed alleged late last week that Google had been manipulating their autocomplete function to improve the reputation of presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. If you typed Hillary Clinton CRI into Google, the autocomplete results are not the same as they are typing into Bing or Yahoo, omitting results like crimes or criminal charges. Google's involvement in cover-ups gets even more sinister when you consider that you can type, "Is Ted Cruz the?" and it won't even suggest Zodiac Killer, despite that being the top result in February of this year. And we know why, Ted. Is it, like Google suggests, just the algorithm? Or to paraphrase Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, does Google think we can't handle the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
On the heels of a story where Facebook has been accused of suppressing right-wing conservative stories in users' news feeds. There's Mark Zuckerberg, CEO, addressing the concerns. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. A lot of words there. You don't have to read them all. But should Facebook be doing that? Imagine if you tuned into this show and we kept subliminally pushing a left-wing agenda.
Yeah, we should phase out coal entirely and rely purely on renewable energy.
Excellent point, Lindsay. But while Facebook is a social service and you have some power to tune out things you're not interested in, Google, like this show, is an information service. So do they have a responsibility to give you unfiltered information?
The means of production should be in the hands of the workers.
Can we just keep this a bit balanced, Jacqueline?
Sorry.
No, Michael. Listen to your comrade.
I can understand stories, personalising stories to a certain degree. There was an example given in one of the articles that if Google knows you're a geologist, for example, and you type in types of rock, it's going to give you different types of rock. But if you're a musician searching for that same thing, I made that very complicated.
But, Jack, if Google was filtering results in a misleading way, should that be illegal?
Well, the other side of that argument is, do Google ever claim to provide unfiltered results? You know, Google allows you to Google. They are their own verb after all.
And information, much like education, should be free for all.
Anthony, that doesn't sound like a fact. That's more of an opinion.
Well, of course you'd say that, Michael, you Tory bastard.
Anthony, how very dare you. There are definitely people today, me, whose only source of news are the headlines Facebook chooses to show them.
Yeah, but on Facebook, it's not really so much of a, left-right divide. It's more of a hippie stoner aunt, racist granddad divide.
Hillary's currently in the lead. Well, that's not what Grace's grandpa is saying.
I think we can all agree the thought of internet services influencing us with the results it wants to give us is a little bit unsettling. Like your fetuses on your jacket.
Good to bring that up again.
It's a callback.
I'm glad we brought that back in. But I don't think there's any real cause for panic as long as it's still championing Hillary. The second it starts trying to pawn Trump on us, that's when we got to get out of there.
Trump porn.
Trump porn. Don't Google that, heavens.
And we've got to get out of here too. Thanks so much for joining us. I've been Michael Shaver. Please put your hands together for Jacqueline Mifsud. And Anthony McCormack. And please thank our special guest panelist for this week, Lindsley Mottram. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good job. With your kind of aptitudes, I bet you could watch all kinds of stuff. Grass growing, paint drying, maybe even Parliament question time. But if it's more The Leak content you're after, why not head on over to theleaklive.com. There's loads of great stuff on there. Mostly a website. And follow @TheLeakLive on Twitter and Instagram. Still not satisfied? Search for The Leak on Facebook or YouTube to find all our past episodes. Bye.